Hey, what's up guys, it's Nick2, and today I'm going to be showing you guys a surprisingly crazy strong firepower Pyromancer build that can do upwards of 200 million damage per shot with an SMG, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I'm pretty sure if I got the perfect kill I could get easily like 260 million, but there's a good amount of variance with this build, so it's a little bit difficult to fully see how much I'm capable of doing. But anyway, the build just completely shreds through bosses. Not only that though, the build can also pretty much one-shot everything while mobbing, which just makes it an absolute blast to use. It's also incredibly easy to set up because the build is just very strong by default. So even if you're just starting out on Pyromancer, this build should still work perfectly for you. There's not really much to say other than if you're looking for a firepower build that turns you into the Terminator, this is the build for you. Before we get into it, I would like to thank today's sponsor for helping support me so I can continue to make content for a living. And that sponsor is Diving. If you feel like you're struggling with certain expeditions, maybe you're having a hard time making the perfect build, or maybe you just don't have enough time to level that third character, Diving.net has you covered. They offer boosts for not only Outriders, but also all kinds of other games such as Division 2 and Destiny 2. With Diving, you can choose to get help with anything you're currently having trouble with, so if you need that perfect build, maybe you just want to get up to CT15, whatever it is, you can easily do that on the site. The way that the boost works is through account sharing, so they do everything for you without any use of cheats or any bug abuse. You can 100% trust that they get the job done legitimately, and with over 20,000 reviews and a 4.9 score on Trustpilot, you can completely trust that you're getting your money's worth. If you're interested, feel free to check the link in the description and make sure to use code NICK2 for 15% off on any purchase. And if you have any questions, you can always just contact an operator on the site to be able to help you out. That said, thanks to Diving for sponsoring the video and helping make sure that I can do this for a living, and let's just get right into the video. Alright, so let's get into the skills. One thing that I want to mention is that Firepower Pyromancer has probably some of the most variance in terms of what different things that you can use with it, probably in the entire game. When it comes to like the skill tree, for example, my skill tree looks a little bit weird, which I'll of course go into, but like there's versions of the build where you can go all top tree, you could go like this top tree middle tree hybrid that I'm doing, you could do all bottom tree and do a hybrid build. You could use completely different skills. You could go for overheat, thermal bomb, feed the flames, laser beam, and eruption, not so much, but you could do like all different types of combinations of skills. This is what I think is ultimately going to be most likely the best thing, not only for bossing but also for pretty good ad clear, while also being very easy to set up. So this is ultimately what I would recommend after testing a lot of different versions of the build, but just keep in mind that there are a lot of things that you can change if you have a certain preference. For example, you want to use Feed the Flames instead of Heatwave or something like that. Of course, we'll go into why we're doing everything the way that we are, because it does look a little bit unconventional when you look at it, but again, I just wanted to preface the video by saying that there's a lot of different ways you can set it up. So if you have a certain preference, if you don't really want to use Ash Blast or something, you're not actually locked into that, and there's a lot of different ways that you can set up the skill tree, etc. So for the skills, we're using Heatwave, Ash Blast, and Volcanic Rounds. Volcanic Rounds pretty much mandatory with a firepower build because it's going to enable our bullets to bypass armor, so pretty much mandatory there. And also we are going to pretty much have this up 100% of the time, which is really good. It also inflicts burn, yada yada. We'll talk more about what else is synergized with later. When it comes to the other skills, Ash Blast and Heat Wave. So Ash Blast is very good because we're pairing this with the mod Death Sentence, so we deal extra damage to enemies that are afflicted with it, which is really good. And it also pairs very well with one of the Pax Tree nodes that we have, allowing us to do some AoE. It's also pretty decent for survivability and just having overall crowd control. Really like having Ash Blast. And then we have Heat Wave. Heat Wave seems a little bit weird, but there's actually a certain mod in the game that is incredibly good paired with Heat Wave. It's going to enable us to get a ton of extra weapon damage, but we're also using it because it is an Ignite skill, and we are going all the way down into Middle Tree, which is going to give us Magma Elemental. Anytime that we activate an Ignite skill, it's going to increase our armor piercing and our resistance piercing. The reason that this is good is we are using two mods that are going to increase our critical hit damage based on how much resistance piercing we have. So we're able to get upwards of 100% additional critical hit damage just with these two mods, which is very, very good. And that's the main reason that we're using Heatwave and that we are going Middle Tree. But also going Middle Tree, you get Trial by Fire, so 15% extra burn damage. You get some extra skill leech, which is pretty nice for survivability. You get all guns blazing, so you increase your weapon damage after skill activation, which is pretty nice. And you get a good bit of like extra max health and stuff. And you still get a lot of this good stuff in the top tree. So extra weapon damage against marked enemies, and you're always going to be instantly marking enemies just by using Volcanic Rounds. And then you're getting Assault Master, some extra resist pierce, some extra weapon damage, and then you go a little bit down into this tree to get extinction. In terms of other ways to set it up, like if you don't have those crit mods, that I was mentioning, or maybe you don't want to use Heat Wave, you could very easily just finish the top tree, get the Ash Invulnerable, and then finish it out with a Burning Situation, so you increase your weapon damage after activating an Immobilize skill. This is a particularly weird way to set it up, but it does seem to net me the best results in terms of hitting as hard as possible. But if you don't have those crit mods, like I mentioned, I would just swap going middle tree and finishing out top tree, and then just getting Extinction. Another way to set this up is going partially middle tree and then going down to Inferno Bullets, or you could go all the way bottom tree with a full hybrid build, but we're not going to be covering that hybrid version of the build today, although I do think that that is a good option. The problem is that it is much more complicated to set up and isn't really going to be much better than what I'm using. One thing that I want to mention, if you guys want to lose some damage and gain a ton of survivability, you could swap out Mark of the Anomaly. It is a 10% damage loss, and go for Anomalous Lava, or anytime you activate an Ignite skill, which would be Heat Wave, you increase your armor by 45%, so this gives you a crazy amount of survivability. So if you feel like you're having survivability issues, feel free to go for that. Extinction is overall pretty good. I guess you could lose Extinction instead of Mark of the Anomaly for this if you wanted to. I just like Extinction because you hit really big numbers with it when enemies are lower health, but technically it's not as big of a damage increase as Mark of the Anomaly is overall. Anyway, when it comes to the Pax Tree, this is pretty much the whole reason that the build is able to function. First off, we get Coming in Hot, which is just really good and pairs pretty nicely with Extinction, seeing those really big numbers against enemies below 30% health. And then we get Ashen Wake, which is pretty much the main reason, not even the main reason we're using Ash Blast because Death Sense is so good, but applying Ash to everybody. Anytime that we're mobbing, we kill one guy that has Ash on them and it's just going to blow up and kill everybody near him. It is only a 4-meter radius, so it's not like super insane, but it is pretty good and helps with the ad clear a lot, which the build really needs. Then we have Hot Streak, which pretty much just gives you increased weapon damage, and it stacks up a fairly good bit as long as you're landing crits. Pretty nice. And then Carbon Ammo, so you get 200% increase to your mag size, so I'm running around with an LMG that has nearly like 300 bullets in it. And then a Bullet Frenzy, which is kind of the main reason this build is able to work, and it's the reason that this build doesn't really need gear to be good. You can just slap on all these Pax Tree nodes, a few gear mods, and you can just do insane amounts of damage. Bullet Frenzy pretty much makes it to where as long as you keep shooting, you keep stacking your assault weapon damage. I do believe it caps out at some point, but it takes quite a while to get there. But pretty much with this build, you just never want to stop shooting, and that's really easy to do while you have carbon ammo up. So you just sit there shooting forever, and this just keeps stacking indefinitely to where you just get crazy amounts of damage increase. Upwards of like 1000% extra weapon damage, but it's hard to tell because I have a lot of other firepower, yada yada, but you get the gist. Bullet Frenzy, very good. Alright, when it comes to the Ascension Tree, there's a lot of stuff that's very good for Pyro here. I would honestly, the biggest tip that I would give you guys is just mess around with it, unless you're like really early on. Early on, the first thing you want to get like mandatory ones are like anomaly damage, weapon damage, and close range damage. But outside of that, you could kind of test a little bit, see what you want more. Like you could go for elite damage, critical hit damage. If you feel like you want your mag size to be bigger, go for that. Cooldown reduction doesn't help you all that much if you are past 55%. So if you open your stat sheet and it says 55%, extra cooldown reduction isn't going to do anything there. Armor piercing and resistance piercing are going to be good for getting extra damage with the crit mods that we are going to be using. Status power is good for making Ash last longer and vulnerable, and all this other survivability stuff I'm not spec'd into at all. But if you're having survivability issues, you could go into like armor, for example, would be pretty good, or resistance would be pretty good. Weapon leech is also fairly decent for survivability. There's a ton of different stuff here. I just went for the full damage route, but I mean the cooldown reduction isn't doing anything for me here, so I go more survivability. It's not that big of a deal anyways. Alright, when it comes to the weapons, I would highly recommend having one weapon for boss killing and one weapon for ad killing. The reason being is that SMGs are incredibly good with this build because you're able to get a pretty big mag size and you're able to shoot really fast. You can stack up your bullet frenzy pretty quickly. However, the problem with SMGs is that they don't have very much range. So what I like to do is I like to use my Torturer on bosses because it does significantly more damage per second, just mathematically way stronger than say an LMG. But then I like to use the LMG for ad clear because it has really long range. Even though we are stacking close damage, the main reason that we're stacking all this close range damage is just for bossing. When you're ad clearing, like everything will kind of just get one-shotted anyway. So I just like to use the LMG for that because it has really big range and a massive magazine size, so it pairs perfectly with the build. The Emerald Chaos is the best LMG for this build, I believe, because the best LMG is a stabilizing variant. The reason being is you're shooting non-stop, and if you shoot non-stop with a weapon that is like the standard variant or the suppressing, what happens is the more and more that you shoot it. Can I shoot it in here? Yeah, the more and more that you shoot those other versions of them, it'll actually, the reticle, I'll just show it. I'll actually just give a demonstration. So if I were to just spam shoot the Roaring Umbra, the more that I shoot it, the more that the reticle is going to bloom out, and then the accuracy just gets terrible, right? But if you're using a stabilizing variant, it's actually the opposite. So this pairs very, very nicely with the build. Even if you're hip firing, it's 100% accurate all of the time. So you pretty much just run around and have 100% accuracy, while with the other version of the LMGs, you have the opposite, which is very, very not fun. So that's why I like to use the Emerald Chaos. It's a stabilizing variant and has crit damage. Long range damage is pretty good. Status power, very nice for our Ash. And then it rolls with Perpetual Mobile, which is the whole way that we're actually able to get ammo back with this build. Perpetual Mobile doesn't work on bosses, but we're able to kill bosses fast enough with our Torture that you seriously do not need the extra ammo. And even if you were to run out of your rounds with your 200 mag clip, Volcanic rounds is a very low cooldown, but at the end of the video, when it comes to the cooldown, or sorry, the rotation section of it, etc., I'll explain how you guys can kill bosses without ever really having to worry about reloading. But when it comes to ad clear, Perpetual Mobile is going to be your best friend. When it comes to which mods you actually want to use on your weapons, by the way, the Torture is the best SMG for bossing because it's a standard variant. It rolls with crit damage and close range, and you can get improved vulnerability on it, which is 15% extra damage as well when applying vulnerable. And then the other mods that we want, Dark Sacrifice and Fortress, are going to be the absolute best because Dark Sacrifice is on its own weapon damage multiplier, so that's very strong. And then Fortress for just 20% additional damage. Those are ultimately your best bet. Getting something like Death Renome wouldn't be too bad, I guess, because you get some extra firepower when your skills are on cooldown, and firepower scales very, very nicely with the build. Omen wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but ultimately getting Dark Sacrifice and Fortress are going to be way better. And if you just have any LMG lying around, I'd recommend just slapping Perpetual Mobile on it just so that it actually functions for ad clear, because your magazine is so big that with Perpetual Mobile, you'll pretty much never run out of ammo. You could try using like a double gun or something. The reason that we don't use attack AR is that the magazine size, it just shoots too slow, and the magazine size isn't all that great for like stacking Bullet Frenzy, whereas with an SMG, it's like way easier to stack, and it just does more damage anyways. All right, when it comes to the gear, we're going to be using 3 pieces of Maxwell. I've tried Torture and stuff. Torture is just very, very bad, but Maxwell also pairs particularly nicely with the build because it's going to give us an increase to our firepower the more that we shoot, and this can allow you to get upwards of like 10 million extra firepower if you take advantage of it properly. However, Maxwell is very, very buggy, so if you notice a lot of variance in how much damage you're doing, it's because Maxwell is incredibly inconsistent. Sometimes you'll get the 100% bonus, sometimes you won't get a bonus at all. The damage is so high just with Bullet Frenzy anyway that it's not super important, and it doesn't really matter all that much. Maxwell just allows the build to scale much more out of control, and we're going to be taking advantage of Maxwell by stacking a lot of flat firepower mods with the build to where the extra percentage that we're getting with Maxwell is going to scale up really high. That ends up being really good. In terms of which pieces of Maxwell you want to be using the helmet, the chest, and the pants, because those are all going to roll with firepower, close range, cooldown reduction, and they're going to have pretty decent mods on them. When it comes to the mods that you want on the build, Molten Lead is incredibly good for Heat Wave. You just cast your Heat Wave and then it puts this pretty large thing on the ground. It's going to increase your weapon damage by 40% multiplicative, which is like super, super insane. It's on its own multiplier, so it doesn't get affected by the diminishing returns of having a whole bunch of Bullet Frenzy. So this is like really, really crazy, to be honest with you. And it's kind of one of the reasons that like an Akari Heat Wave hybrid could work with this build, but regardless, I still think that this is a better version. Anyway, then we have Dum Dum Bullets, very good, just increases our assault weapon damage, which of course we are using assault weapons with the build. And then we have Death Sentence, so anytime we activate Ash Blast, going to not only increase our weapon damage, but also our anomaly damage, which is really, really good because our Volcanic rounds does anomaly damage, and we are also benefiting from weapon damage. So Death Sentence absolutely must have with the build. And then for the chest piece, we have the Maxwell chest. Mine it always comes with personal space, which is pretty good because close range damage is good. And then I have Kingslayer here, gives a whole bunch of extra firepower, and this firepower will get further scaled up with the Maxwell set, as well as lava shots on the pants, which we'll talk about in a second. Then I have Self-Medication, which is just literally full heals you every single time that you use a skill. Very good. I'd prefer to have Captain Hunter here for more flat damage, but Self-Med is very good survivability-wise. And another good survivability mod would be a Perseverance Shield if you're having problems with survivability. But Self-Med, anytime you use Ash Blast or whatever, you literally get full health, so that's very good. When it comes to the pants, I'm using no resistance against the Fortified, so it's going to increase our resist pierce by 100% of our armor pierce. And like I mentioned earlier, in the Clash Tree, we're actually getting 45% armor piercing every time that we activate an Ignite skill, as well as resistance piercing. And then if you pair that with like Achilles Heel, it's going to increase your damage, your crit damage based on your resistance piercing. So we're going to get upwards of 100% extra crit damage just with these few mods, which is very good. Bloodlust rolls on the pants, but Bloodlust isn't really all that good anymore. But since we are scaling our firepower with not only Maxwell, but also lava shots, it makes it to where it's not completely a dead mod. Lava shots just increasing our bonus firepower by 25% while the skill is active, so I believe that this scales with Maxwell and also all the other firepower that you're stacking with the build, which is really, really good. And then on the gloves here, Ash Blast range, super nice for ad clear. It doesn't really help when fighting bosses, but for ad clear, pop down your Ash Blast, covers the whole map, kill one guy, he blows up, dude. Ashen Wake kills a whole bunch of other guys, really nice. Achilles heel for the extra crit damage. If you're not landing a lot of crits, you don't have to worry about this, but this is kind of the main reason that we're going middle tree, because 100% extra crit damage is a lot of extra damage. It's really, really good. Then we have bullet kindling, so 12% more damage against enemies afflicted with burn, and our volcanic rounds is always going to be applying burn, so pretty much 12% damage up all the time. Two other mod options are like Daring to the Barrel, maybe for some like additional flat firepower. I was trying to find it, but like Ashen Boost wouldn't be too bad with the build, but Ash doesn't last all that long on enemies. Captain Hunter, I don't actually have modded on right now because I feel like Kingslayer is slightly better than Captain Hunter, but getting Captain Hunter would be very good too. Here is a terribly written priority list of all of the mods. It's very difficult to know exactly what is priority. I'm going to assume that getting a lot of the firepower ones are probably going to be priority number 1 because we're scaling that firepower so much, but Molten Lead and Death Sentence are like super crazy because it's just multiplicative extra damage like by a long shot, so those are really, really good too. But honestly, as long as you just have like those few mods that make the build really strong and then you just slap on some survivability, you'll be tearing through everything anyways. Everything at some point just becomes optimization to hit bigger numbers, but you'll get to a point to where you just one-shot everything anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just try to get firepower and some of the more pertinent mods. All right, so now I want to talk about how to actually use the build properly. Gonna go into the catacombs to just show you guys the ad clear and then some bossing. The catacombs is cursed for ad clear, but it is what it is. Ultimately, all that matters is just holding left click at the first, like always. If there's anything that you take away from this video, it is hold left click always, never let go of left click. The reason being, Bullet Frenzy, and if you run out of Bullet Frenzy, you're going to do no damage. And Bullet Frenzy will go away, I think, after like 2 seconds or so of not shooting, so it's pretty punishing, but as long as you make sure to keep it up, your damage will scale crazy. So make sure to just hold it down forever. And then when it comes to the bossing, there's actually a different way to kind of take advantage of the build, so at least make sure that you watch the bossing, because otherwise you might have a little bit of difficulty when fighting the bosses. But for the ad clear, it's pretty simple. Never let go of left click. When you walk into a room, just press left click. One little interesting mechanic is that if you pop volcanic rounds while you're shooting, it'll completely fill up your magazine. So right now, as you can see, I'm at 140 bullets, 130 or whatever. I'm going to pop my Ash Blast and some skills, and I'm going to land some headshots, and then I'm just going to pop my volcanic rounds. And as you can see, it instantly fills up my my volcanic rounds there, which is really nice, so you can like preemptively kind of stack your bullet frenzy, and you don't have to worry about running out of ammo. And then as you can see with Perpetual Mobile, I don't really have to worry about ammo ever. So, I mean, there's not really 96 mil. There's not really all that much that you have to worry about when it comes to this build. Just use your skills on cooldown, use them whenever you want, and then just, you don't even have to hit enemies with your heat wave. You pretty much pop it just so that you get the all those buffs. Not only the Molten Lead, but also the extra resistance piercing stuff. Everything else kind of just dies for free. You don't really have to worry about too much. I would try to make sure to land crits for Shark Bite and stuff, but sometimes it can be a little bit rough. But I mean, you guys saw the intro clip. There's not really all that much going on. You can just walk around, kill everything with impunity. Again, just make sure that you never stop shooting pretty much. Don't ever cast like 2 skills back to back, because then you'll pretty much, you know, God, that was actually pretty fast. You'll run out of your bullet frenzy. So when it comes to the bossing, what you want to do is, because we don't have a way to get ammo back, such as like Feed the Flames or something, or a mod that gives us like a lot of our ammo back, you want to take advantage of that volcanic round stuff. So when you first go to the boss, just shoot at the air, or not shoot at the air, but shoot at him, because your Maxwell, you actually have to shoot at the boss for Maxwell to stack up. Shoot at him a little bit just to get Bullet Frenzy stacked up, and once you feel like you've got it stacked up, or you've got Maxwell stacked up, then pop your volcanic rounds, and then just use your other skills. Because otherwise, if you walk in and you instantly pop volcanic rounds, what's going to happen is you might not have any damage stacked up yet, and then you'll try to do damage, the boss will hit you, he'll stagger you, you run out of Bullet Frenzy, blah blah blah, and you'll just run out of ammo, and that's no fun. So I'm not going to go for like a super fast boss kill. I'm just going to hip fire for a little bit, get some damage off on him, get my Maxwell stacked up a little bit, get my Bullet Frenzy stacked up a little bit, and then we'll go for the kill. So hit him with like 100 bullets, whatever. Death Sentence, Heat Wave. Oh, he's going to stagger me because he sucks, so yeah, the stagger's a little bit unfortunate. And then just melt them. So the problem is, I mean, that was a pretty bad representation of the build. I'll just show you guys another clip. The problem is that sometimes you get staggered, and if you get staggered, you lose your bullet frenzy, and that can be really annoying, especially if you like just casted a heat wave. The damage is still decent there, but obviously the difference between 40 million and 200 million, like you see in this clip, is pretty significant. So learning how to do the bossing properly, I mean, a lot of it is just the boss is designed terribly, in my opinion, and is very punitive for being in close range. But as long as you take advantage of the main stuff, I mean, he still died pretty quickly, right? Like, you know, not 200 mil, but still, he still fell over. And if I didn't get knocked back, I wouldn't have had that issue. But as you can see, just while standing here, just because my Maxwell is stacked up, I don't even have Bullet Frenzy stacked up. If you have Bullet Frenzy stacked up, this can go up to like 20 million max. But as you can see, my Maxwell is just stacked up right here and giving me 7 mil. But in this other clip, I have it stacked up all the way to 10 mil just sitting here. Maxwell is very inconsistent. Sometimes you'll finish a map, and the amount of firepower that Maxwell gave you was like literally 0, just like bugged out. Other times, it'll work fine, and you'll get 100 or 1,200% extra weapon damage. I don't know. It's really bad. Not bad, but it's pretty random with what it'll actually give you. So that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.